Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. Here to bring in the movie of What If Lupin was a Saiyan origin arc. Link down description of the fanfiction of this What If. It's more like a Union Academy story, however it would also be Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, what other series as well. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Prologue, a Saiyan among the herd. On the planets known as Earth. Humanity has evolved so much, awakening different kinds of powers from quarks, semblance, aura, talons, magic, chakra, at different other kinds of powers instead of awoken across the world. The super-powered individuals had brought rise to both superheroes and supervillains, including vigilantes. The rise of superhumans have also brought rise to corruption as well. Senate heroes today are down at once where some only cared for money and greed and power. Especially other races. Humans that are powerless, dummy, humans, fishmen and etc. That were always treated by the superpowered individuals. Especially that Union Academy has become a corrupted symbol of the hypocrisy of false heroism, only caring for money and fame. While they were also under heroic, schools created to train and treated equality for powerless and other races. Especially the world government entitled only by nobles that are a bunch of corrupt, only care for themselves. However, there was a new school that was developed in North America and Brazil known as Time Vanguard Academy, training not just heroes but including people traveling towards time and space. Making sure the timelines are 100% perfect, and in case of any alien threats, other knows that are good or bad might actually deserve a second chance. However, a certain proud warrior alien race by the name of Saiyans. As a single Saiyan space pod entered Earth's atmosphere, and being a low-class Saiyan by the name of Lentrax was at the of4 and left planet Vegeta since stirring its destruction as the space pod crash landed in some parts of Africa. Lentrax, the 4-year-old Saiyan, was sleeping while also had some rations that he was able to steal from planet Vegeta during its destruction by Lord Frieza. As the space pod aggressively crash-led on the dirt of Africa, has the pod open, Lentrax still asleep. Not even caring about what exactly was happening. In another part of Africa, that young adult female African bush elephant by the name of Olga the elephant noticed the meteor. However, when the moment it's to make the collision somewhere in the other part of Africa, she was surprised that a shooting star would never, but then she realized, remembering that Mott Tembo told about meteors. Olga the elephant, what the hell was that actually a meteor that Mott Tembo told me about? As Olga the elephant, walking on all four for elephant legs, walking to the crash site of the space pod, Lentrax slowly woke up, remembering the destruction of planet Vegeta. He wanted to cry, but realizing that his family would be proud of him if he got stronger. He was able to make somewhat of a campsite, grinding some to meat and rations. He had eating it while going back to sleep. Sometime later, Olga the elephant walked up and was surprised a young man, which she thought that it was a normal human, and next to the human was some kind of orb-like pod. However, the female African bush elephant did not realize that this person was actually a Saiyan. Olga the elephant, oh my, who is this cutie? Olga the elephant using her trunk stroking the young man's hair only for him to swat it away while also sleeping without even realizing the presence of the elephant. Lentrax stirred, frowning in his sleep. Reflexively, his tail uncurled, and a faint spark of ki energy rippled through the air. Olga flinched back, her ears flaring. Olga, what was that? Lightning. Lentrax's eyes snapped open. In an instant, he was on his feet, his small body adopting a fighting stance he'd seen the older Saiyan warriors use. For a long moment, neither moved, Saiyan and elephant, alien and beast, gazing silently at one another. Then, Lentrax smiled faintly. Lentrax, you're huge. Olga let out a soft, rumbling chuckle, the sound vibrating through the ground. The tension broke. Olga, and you are very small to be out here all alone. What is your name, little one? The question confused him. Names were for identification, for battle rosters. But this creature, it felt different. He puffed out his chest. Lentrax, I am Lentrax. A Saiyan warrior. Olga, a warrior. You look more like a lost calf. Come, the savannah is no place for a calf to sleep alone. Lentrax trotted on small, sturdy legs, his tail flicking behind him like a metronome. The world was big, bigger than the sterile confines of his space pod or the jagged mountains of planet Vegeta he'd glimpsed in holovids. Here, the air hummed with life, The distant roar of lions staking claim to the dusk, the chirp of hidden insects weaving symphonies in the underbrush, the earthy scent of rain-soaked soil promising renewal. It was chaos, but a living chaos, and something in his Saiyan blood stirred at it, not the cold thrill of conquest, but a deeper pull, like the gravity of a new homeworld. Olga, keep up, little warrior. Ma Tembo won't take kindly to stragglers. She's the matriarch, wise as the baobab, fierce as the storm. Lentrax nodded, puffing out his chest again, though his stomach growled in protest. The rations from the pod were gone, reduced to crumbs after days of meager fireside meals. Lentrax, I can hunt. Throw rocks. Make, boom. He mimed a key spark with his fingers, a tiny flicker of blue energy dancing at his fingertips before winking out. It was instinctive, like breathing, but uncontrolled, wild as the fire ants that bit at his heels. Olga trumpeted a laugh boom. Oh, calf, you'll need more than sparks to impress the herd. But you'll learn. We all do. By midday, they crested a gentle rise, and there it was, the herd. A majestic procession of African bush elephants, 24 strong, gathered around a shimmering watering hole. Calves splashed in the shallows, their trunks spraying arcs of water that caught the sun in prismatic bursts. Elders stood sentinel, tusks gleaming like ivory sabers, while younger bulls tested their strength by shoving against termite mounds. Ma Tembo, the Grand Dame, towered at the center, a behemoth of wrinkled hide and unyielding wisdom, her scars mapping decades of droughts, poachers, and migrations. The herd stilled as Olga approached, trunks rising like periscopes to sniff the air. Whispers rippled through them, low rumbles and stomps that Lupin felt in his bones more than heard. Stranger. Small. Not elephant. Elder cow. Tumba. Olga, what is that? It smells of man. Olga. Not man. The matriarch, Ma Tembo, emerged from the water. She was a mountain of wisdom and scars, her eyes holding the weight of countless seasons. She looked down at the tiny, tailed boy who stood unflinching before her. Ma Tembo, Olga, what have you brought? A human cub. A young bull trumpeted nervously, stomping his foot. Young bull, it smells wrong. It smells small. Lentrax felt a familiar fear, the fear of being an outsider, the last of his kind. But he also felt Olga's reassuring presence beside him. He remembered his vow. He would be strong. He would not cower. Ma Tembo lowered her massive head, her trunk swaying like a pendulum as she inhaled his scent deeply. Dust motes danced in the air between them, caught in the heat haze. The matriarch's breath washed over him, warm and earthy, carrying the faint tang of wet clay and wild grasses. Ma Tembo, not human. Not beast of fang or claw. Her rumble was low, resonant, a vibration that traveled through the ground and into Lentrax's bones, stirring something primal. What are you, little spark? Lentrax straightened, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. He wouldn't let them see weakness. Saiyans didn't beg, they proved. Lentrax, I'm Lentrax. From far away. My home's gone, but I fight. I protect. Like you. He glanced at Olga, who stood sentinel at his side, her ears fanned out protectively. She found me. Said you take in the lost. The herd murmured, stomps and snorts rippling like waves across a pond. Tumba, the elder cow, shuffled forward, her tusks scarred from battles long past. She eyed his tail with wary curiosity, as if it were a serpent coiled for strike. Tumba, protect. A flea on the wind protects nothing. The lions circle at dusk. Hyenas laugh in the night. What can this thing do against teeth and hunger? Olga stepped in, her trunk curling protectively around Lentrax's shoulders. He didn't flinch at the touch, rough, leathery, but gentle, like the way his mother had once ruffled his hair before tucking him into the pod. Olga, he's no flea, Ma. Watch. She nudged him forward. Show them, little warrior. The boom. Lentrax hesitated, glancing at the calves splashing nearby. Their innocent eyes mirrored his own hidden ache. Prove it, he thought. Or be alone again. He planted his feet in the sun-baked mud, drawing a breath that tasted of freedom and fear. His ki stirred, a warm ember in his core, uncoiling like his tail. It wasn't the disciplined blast of a trained warrior, no, this was raw, instinctive, honed by days of hurling stones at scuttling lizards and igniting dry grass for warmth. He thrust his palms forward, fingers splayed. A spark leapt to life, blue-white and crackling, blooming into a fist-sized orb of energy that hummed with untamed promise. The air shimmered, heat rippling outward like a mirage. With a yell that split the savannah's hush, he launched it skyward. The ki blast screamed into the sky, a miniature sun that painted the elephants' hides in stark, shifting light. It didn't fly straight, it wobbled and corkscrewed, a wild thing born of instinct, not control. It climbed higher, higher, then, with a deafening kra-kum, it detonated. The shockwave was a physical force, a wall of hot air that flattened the grass in a wide circle and sent the calves stumbling. Water in the watering hole sloshed violently over its banks. The herd recoiled as one, a chorus of startled trumpets and stomps echoing across the savannah. For a moment, there was only the ringing silence after the explosion. Lentrax stood panting, his small shoulders heaving, his palms smoking. He looked from his hands to the dissipating energy in the sky, then back to the stunned giants. The young bull who had mocked him was now silent, his ears drooping. Ma Tembo did not flinch. Her ancient eyes, deep and knowing, watched the last tendrils of energy fade. She looked from the sky to the boy, then to the faces of her herd. She saw not just the power, but the context, the controlled direction away from her calves, the sheer will it took for one so small to contain such a force. She took a slow, deliberate step forward, the earth shifting under her weight. She lowered her trunk once more, not to sniff him, but to gently touch his chest, right over his pounding heart. Ma Tembo, her rumble soft, yet carrying to every ear, the sky itself speaks your name, little spark. It is a loud voice for one so small. She raised her head, addressing the entire herd, her tone leaving no room for argument. Ma Tembo, the lions have teeth. The hyenas have hunger. But we have the storm. We have the earthquake. We have the strength of the earth. And now, we have the lightning. Olga's joy was a force unto itself. She scooped Lentrax up with her trunk in one fluid motion, lifting him high onto her broad back as if he weighed no more than a fallen mango. Olga, ride with pride, little spark. The herd is yours now. And you are ours. Ma Tembo turned toward the horizon, where the sun bled crimson into the acacias, signaling the evening migration. Her voice, a gravelly command woven with warmth, sealed the moment. Ma Tembo, we move with the dusk. The small one hunts with the young, guards with the strong, learns with the wise. Let the stars witness, Lentrax's elephant. Lentrax's kin. As the procession lumbered forward, trunks entwined, calves tucked safely in the center, Lentrax rode atop Olga, the rhythm of her steps syncing with his heartbeat. The savannah unfolded before him, endless waves of golden grass bending to the wind, termite castles like ancient monoliths, and the first stars pricking the velvet sky. Chapter 1 Training to Get Strong. Location, Africa, Savannah. A few days or weeks pass by in Africa, Savannah. Lentrax the young Saiyan warrior, but goes by his earth name Lupin that his mother fighter known as Ma Tembo. Eva the big female East African bush elephant, No Tusk Phaedra the big female African bush elephant, Mama Themba the big female African bush elephant and Chapman the big male East African bush elephant had grown deeply protective of him. She often fed him fruits gathered from the tall trees, bananas, tamarind, ackee, passion fruit and star apple that she would lower her trunk, offering a palm-sized leaf filled with food. Eva, eat up, my little wanderer. You'll need your strength today. Lentrax, Lupin, thank. He devoured the sweet, tangy fruits with a Saiyan's appetite, the burst of energy making his tail twitch with satisfaction. As he finished, a shadow fell over him. It was Chapman, the massive bull elephant. He let out a low, challenging rumble, swinging his heavy tusks from side to side. Chapman, strength is not just in the eating, little lightning. It is in the doing. Come, the termite mound awaits. This had become their routine. While Eva nourished his body, Chapman and the others trained it. Today's lesson was raw power. A giant, rock-hard termite mound stood a short distance away, a silent testament to insectoid engineering. Phaedra, remember, Lupin. Power from the ground up. Feel the earth push back. She trumpeted, demonstrating by slamming her own forefoot into the ground, sending a tremor through the soil. Lupin nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. He planted his feet, mimicking their stance. He wasn't using ki, not today. This was about physical strength, about connecting with the raw, earthly power his herd embodied. He charged forward and threw a small fist against the mound. THWUMP. A few chips of clay broke off. It was more than a human child could do, but for a Saiyan, it was underwhelming. The calves watching giggled, their trunks wiggling. Mama Themba, do not be discouraged. Again, she encouraged, her deep voice calm and steady. Your spirit is strong. Let your body learn to match it. Lupin took a deep breath, remembering the destruction of his planet, the loneliness of the pod, and the warmth of the trunk that first led him here. He wouldn't let them down. He roared, a tiny, fierce sound, and charged again. Crack. This time, his fist sank deeper, and a web of fractures spread from the point of impact. Chapman. Better. Now, again. For hours, under the blazing sun, he pounded the mound. His knuckles grew raw, his muscles screamed, but the Zenkai potential in his cells was already whispering, adapting, preparing to make him stronger for the next effort. This was a different kind of training than any Saiyan had ever undertaken, a lesson in patience and persistence, not just explosive power. Exhausted, he finally stopped, leaning against the now significantly damaged mound, panting. Suddenly, Olga trotted up, her ears flapping excitedly. Olga, enough with pushing rocks. Lupin straightened from the fractured termite mound, his small chest heaving but his grin fierce and unbroken. Knuckles bruised and throbbing, harbingers of the Zenkai that would knit them tougher by dawn, he wiped a streak of clay from his cheek. Pushing rocks builds the body, he thought, echoing Chapman's earlier rumble. But the hunt, that's the soul. His tail flicked eagerly, coiling and uncoiling like a serpent sensing prey. The watching elephants let out a chorus of rumbling laughs. Lupin scowled, wiping his foot on the grass. Chapman, chuffing, speed without sight is a stumble waiting to happen. Again. Frustration boiled in him. He wanted to power up, to use his ki to just blast through the course. But he looked at Phaedra, who gave him an encouraging nod, and at Mama Themba, whose eyes held nothing but patience. They were teaching him something his Saiyan biology couldn't, finesse. He took a calming breath, just as he'd seen Ma Tembo do when assessing a threat. He didn't just see the trees and the dung, he felt the space between them. He started again, slower this time. His movements became more calculated, his tail acting as a perfect counterbalance for sharp turns. He flowed through the course, a small, dark streak moving with an impossible grace between the obstacles. He finished without a single misstep, skidding to a halt before Olga, chest heaving but eyes bright with triumph. Olga. There. You see. The lightning can strike a single blade of grass without burning the field. That is control. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the final lesson began. It was Eva who initiated it. She stood at the edge of the watering hole, her presence calm and immense. Eva. Now, the most important lesson. Be still, Lupin. Listen. Lupin sat beside her, confused. Listen to what? The bugs were starting to chirp, the distant lions were roaring, but that was all normal. Eva. Not with your ears. With your energy. Your ki. Feel the world around you. The fish stirring in the water. The beetle crawling under the log. The heartbeat of the calf sleeping nearby. Lupin closed his eyes, reaching out with his key sense for the first time not to find a powerful foe, but to find life. At first, there was nothing. Then, a flicker. The warm, slow-burning ember of Eva's own life force beside him. Then another, and another, the herd, scattered around him like gentle campfires. 3 years later, Lentrax, Lupin was at the age of 10 and was with Ethel, the big female East African bush elephant. No tusk was on her back. Ethel. At this rate, you'll be faster than a cheetah before long. He shifted seamlessly onto it, feet finding purchase on the leathery length, arms outstretched for balance, as she lifted him skyward. The world tilted, ground falling away, wind whipping his hair into a wild banner, the herd shrinking to a procession of gentle giants below. Higher still, until the savannah unfolded like a living map, rivers snaking silver through green veins, copies rising like ancient beasts, distant thunderstorms brewing purple bruises on the horizon. Not faster, he called down, voice laced with exhilaration, key humming faintly to steady his stance. Just, freer. Like when you taught me to glide on the thermals last moon, feel the air lift you, not fight it. Ethel trumpeted approval, her trunk undulating like a living trapeze, twisting midair to send him into a controlled spin. Lupin twisted with it, body coiling mid-flip before landing feather light back on the tip, a grin splitting his face. Flight had come instinctively to his Saiyan blood, a spark of levitation to bridge gaps during floods, but Ethel had refined it into poetry, soaring thermals for endurance, sudden dives for precision strikes, the subtle weave of wind currents to evade imagined foes. Below, the calves trumpeted encouragement, mimicking clumsy hops that kicked up dust clouds, while Chapman bellowed mock challenges from afar. "Watch this," Lupin whooped, leaping free. Ki ignited in a soft blue nimbus, propelling him into a loop-de-loop that shaved the treetops, scattering a flock of hornbills in a feathered explosion. He dove low, skimming Ethel's flank before vaulting back to her trunk, the pair a seamless duo, elephant and Saiyan, earth and sky. But mid-laugh, a shadow crossed his Ki sense. Not the familiar warmth of the herd, but a discordant jangle, metallic, hungry, laced with the acrid tang of gun oil and unnatural power. Poachers. Or something worse, whispers of quirk, enhanced hunters from the cities, drawn by tales of a demon child, guarding the plains. Ethel sensed it too, her ears flaring, trunk curling protectively. Ethel, trouble on the wind, little one. Lions. Or the two legs with fire sticks. Lupin's grin faded to focus, tail lashing as he scanned the horizon. Two legs. I feel, they're sparks. Twisted ones. Like Ki, but wrong. The herd tightened formation instinctively, Ma Tembo, aging but unbowed, trumpeting the alert. For 3 years, the savannah had been sanctuary and school. Now, it tested him, not with rocks or runs, but with the first true clash of worlds. As dust clouds rose on the distant ridge, Lupin dropped to Ethel's back, Ki coiling like a storm about to break. Packed together, he murmured, echoing lessons learned in stillness. We charge as one. Little did Lupin realize that it was CP9, a secret organization that was actually working with Union Academy. However, they left to report the headmasters of Union Academy about this without Lupin realizing their presence. Lupin, it's probably nothing. Must be Sikh things. I probably should get some rest for our next training session. As night fell over the savannah, the heat softened into a tranquil hush. Fireflies drifted like tiny stars caught between worlds, and the cicadas' chorus rose beneath the wide, endless sky. The herd had settled, calves nuzzled their mothers, and the great bulls formed a protective perimeter. Lupin sat cross-legged atop a low rock, watching the stars shimmer above the acacia trees. His Saiyan tail swayed slowly behind him, reflecting the rhythm of his calm heartbeat. Eva lumbered near, her massive silhouette framed by the rising moon. Eva, you watched the horizon for hours, my little one. What are you searching for? Lupin, quietly, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like something's calling me. Like a voice I can't hear yet, but it's out there, somewhere beyond the stars. Eva lowered her trunk, brushing it gently over his shoulder, a mother's gesture of reassurance. Eva, the stars speak to all of us in their own time. But never forget, even if your path leaves the grasslands, you carry our herd's spirit within you. Lupin smiled softly. Lupin, yeah, you, Ethel, Mama Themba, Chapman, you're my first pack. My first family. The wind shifted, cool, carrying the scent of rain and ozone. Somewhere far above, reality shimmered briefly, a thin tear of violet energy, unnoticed by mortal eyes. It pulsed once, then vanished, leaving a faint echo that brushed against Lupin's senses. He shivered. Lupin, thinking, that energy again, it feels familiar. But, not dangerous. Just watching. He blinked, and the feeling was gone. The stars above seemed undisturbed. Behind him, Chapman rumbled softly from his resting place, his low voice vibrating through the earth. Chapman, the world is vast, young lightning. But remember, even the mightiest storm begins with a whisper. Rest now. Tomorrow, the herd runs at dawn. Lupin lay back against the warm earth, his tail curling loosely around his leg. The moon's reflection shimmered in his eyes as sleep began to pull him under. In his dreams, he saw flashes. A silver temple in a place beyond time. A symbol burning bright, Time Vanguard Academy. And a distant voice, echoing through the cosmos, Lentrax, the timeline trembles. The universe needs its guardian once more. The wind howled softly through the savannah as the stars pulsed brighter, whispering secrets of destiny yet to come. Chapter 2 Saiyan vs. Leopard. Location, Africa, Savannah. As Lupin was at age of 15 begin training while also spending time with many of the other elephants. Lupin training while also able to push his body to its limits and also be able to transform into primal from grabbing two large boulders and doing push-ups with the two large boulders. Lupin, grunting through clenched teeth 298, 299. His ki flared around him, a visible, fiery aura that distorted the air. He was pushing his body to its absolute limit, seeking that precise edge where growth happened. It was in moments like this, where his Saiyan biology met his vanguard resolve, that he could feel a deeper, more primal power stirring within him. With a final, guttural roar, he completed the representative and shoved the boulders away, sending them rolling across the savannah with thunderous booms. He stood, chest heaving, and focused inward. His aura shifted from its usual gold-tinged white to a raw, bestial red. His canines elongated slightly, and his eyes glowed with feral intensity. This was his primal form, a state that bridged the gap between his disciplined training and his innate Saiyan instincts, a raw manifestation of the wild spirit he shared with his herd. Suddenly, his sharp senses, amplified by his ki, detected a ripple of fear from the herd. A threat was near. He turned to see a massive leopard. However, it wasn't a normal leopard, it was a humanoid leopard. However, its real name was Rob Lucci, having the devil for power known as Nako Nako no Mi, model, leopard. Lupin, who the hell are you supposed to be? Rob Lucci in leopard mode. I am Rob Lucci from Union Academy to bring you the Academy Eastern means by doing it by force. Lupin, so I guess we have to do things by force. Rob Lucci, I am Rob Lucci, an agent of Union Academy. We extend an invitation. You will come with me and enroll, by force if necessary. Lupin's expression hardened. The mere mention of Union Academy, a place synonymous with fake heroes, corruption, and everything he stood against, ignited a fire in his chest. His primal aura flared brighter, the red energy crackling around his fists. Lupin, cracking his neck, so I guess we have to do things by force. I was hoping for a peaceful afternoon. Lucci didn't respond with words. He moved, a blur of spotted fur and lethal intent, his fingers extending into razor-sharp claws aimed to shred. But Lupin was already gone, vanishing in a flicker of red light and reappearing behind him. Lupin, too slow. Lupin's fist, wreathed in bestial energy, slammed into Lucci's side. The impact was like a cannon blast, sending the leopard man tumbling across the dirt. Lucci recovered instantly, landing in a crouch, his eyes burning with rage. Rob Lucci, Rokugan. He lunged again, his movements faster now, a flurry of kicks and slashes that could slice through steel. Lupin met him head-on, his own martial arts, a unique blend of Saiyan brawling, vanguard techniques, and the raw power of the wild, creating a whirlwind of defense and counterattacks. He weaved under a claw swipe and drove a knee into Lucci's gut. Lupin, is that all the great Union Academy has to offer? Rob Lucci, you insolent brute. You have no idea the order we represent. Lucci pushed forward, his power increasing. But Lupin only grinned, the thrill of a real challenge fueling him. Lupin, order built on injustice is just another form of chaos. I'll never join you. With a roar that echoed across the plains, Lupin's power surged. His primal form's energy condensed in his palm. Lupin, let's see how you handle this. Wild Herd Blast. A massive, roaring wave of crimson ki, shaped by the spirit of the stampeding herd that was his family, shot forward. Lucci's eyes widened for a split second before the blast consumed him, exploding against the savannah floor and kicking up a cloud of dust and smoke that blotted out the sun. As the dust settled, a battered Rob Lucci lay in a crater, his transformation flickering. Lupin stood over him, his aura calming, his form returning to normal. The elephants trumpeted in the distance, a sound of triumph. Lupin, tell your academy that their force isn't welcome here. This planet, its people, and its timelines are under my protection. Now get out. He turned his back, a silent show of utter dismissal, and walked towards his herd. The battle was won, but Lupin knew it was only the beginning. Union Academy now knew his name, and the time Vanguard Academy's newest Saiyan hero had drawn his line in the sand. Chapter 3 Saiyan vs. Huntsman. Location, Africa, Savannah. Lentrax or Lupin was now at the age of 17 hunting every single wild beast that was dangerous. Lupin in Primal took down some kaiju about to kill innocent young animals within the savannah only for him to actually brutally kill every one of them. One day, Lupin in the space form of eating some meat, he was able to kill another wild danger beast alongside a Pokémon sitting on his shoulder. The Pokémon was a white fox known as Arctic Vulpix. Lupin continued enjoying this meal until he sensed a group of people that were actually from Union Academy trying to recruit him, which got really annoying to him. Lupin. God damn it. You have got to be kidding me. As Lupin slowly got up on Lupin slowly try up on his 2 feet, while Arctic Vulpix running hastily at a nearby tree hiding. Lupin turned around having a bored expression seeing a group of 2 teams known as Huntsmen of RWBY, Ruby Rose, Weiss Schnee, Blake Belladonna and Yang Xiaolong, and JNPR, John Arc, Nora Valkyrie, Kira Nikos and Lai Ren. As the 2 wants, men team had to look orders from the headmasters of Union Academy to capture or bring him by force. Ruby, listen here, the headmasters want you to actually join Union Academy. Weiss, that's right. Whatever you are, if you are another filthy faunus. Blake, Yang, I have to admit you do look kind of beautiful. Lupin looked directly at Yang, not even interested in her. Lupin, yeah, let's just say many people tried bringing me by force and let's just say I didn't end well. So why not tell your so-called Union Academy to go fuck off? Ruby, then we'll bring you by force if we have to. Lupin just laughs at the huntsman thinking after they're actually strong enough to beat him almost as if it was a joke. Nora, what's so funny? Lupin, do you want to know what's so funny? I'm laughing at is that thinking of all of you can actually defeat me. After all, I could tell that you were all nothing more than a bunch of noobs. A bunch of rookies, nothing more than a bunch of inexperienced fighters while I had to survive in the wild and train in the harsh environments. Kira, we'll see about that. Lupin, then show me what you got. For a heartbeat, there was only the sigh of the savannah wind. Then, Ruby moved. A burst of rose petals exploded in a crimson streak. She was fast, incredibly fast by remnant standards, closing the distance in a blink. Crescent Rose, a scythe-shaped blur aimed to hook Lupin's leg and destabilize him. He didn't dodge. The hardened steel of her weapon's shaft connected with a sickening crack that echoed like a gunshot. It wasn't the sound of breaking bone, but of stressed metal. Ruby cried out, her aura flaring visibly as the recoil shock traveled up her arms, numbing her fingers. She stumbled back, staring in horror at a visible dent in Crescent Rose's sturdy frame. Lupin hadn't flinched. He glanced down at his leg, then back at her, one eyebrow arched. Lupin, your weapon is an extension of your will. You just let your will smash against a mountain. Lesson 1. Know your target. Chaos erupted. Seeing their leader recoil, the others attacked as one. A storm of multicolored dust rounds from Weiss's glyphs and Kira's rifle peppered his torso, exploding in brilliant but harmless flares against his simple GI. Blake's shadow stepped behind him, Gamble shroud slashing in a silent, deadly arc at the back of his neck. The blade stopped dead, as if hitting a column of solid diamond, not even fraying the fabric. Lupin sighed, a sound of profound disappointment. Lupin, you're not listening. In a motion too fast for any of them to track, his hand shot out. Not with a punch, but with an open palmed, almost gentle push against Blake's midsection. The effect was catastrophic. There was no key blast, no flashy energy. It was pure, focused kinetic force. Blake's aura shattered in a kaleidoscope of black light with a sound like breaking glass. The air left her lungs in a violent whoosh as she was launched backwards, not as a projectile, but as a ragdoll caught in a localized hurricane. She tore through the air, a blur of black and white, before cratering into the trunk of a distant baobab tree with a damp thud, slumping motionless to its roots. Silence, heavier than gravity, descended. Ren and Nora charged next, a symphony of righteous fury. Ren's green aura-empowered palms struck Lupin's chest and back in a flurry of precise blows meant to disrupt ki and shatter stone. They had no more effect than raindrops on armor. Nora, screaming, brought Magnile down in a hammer swing that could level a fortress, channeling every ounce of her strength. Lupin caught the warhammer head-on. Not with a technique, not with a block. He simply raised his left hand and closed his fingers around the oversized head of the weapon. The impact didn't move him an inch. The shockwave from the arrested blow kicked up a ring of dust around them. He held it there, effortlessly, as Nora strained, her muscles corded, her face a mask of disbelief. Lupin, wow, you rely too much on your weapons, proving how weak you are. Lupin uses 1% of his power punching Nora, sending her flying in nearby rocks, destroying it, causing her to be knocked out cold. Ruby Rose, using Crescent Rose in scythe mode, tried hitting Lupin multiple times only for Lupin himself to end up on top of the weapon, to her absolute shock and disbelief. Ruby, how are you? Lupin, like I said, I'm able to train to use the environment to my advantage, unlike some people who rely too much on weapons and acts like a bunch of rookies, proves how superior I am. As Lupin rushed towards Ruby, Rose grabbed her by the face and slammed her aggressively against a nearby rock wall, knocking her out cold. Yang saw her younger sister being knocked out cold, got very furious and angry. Using her semblance, Lupin turned around, sensing the increased power. Almost nothing more than a rip-off of Super Saiyan. Lupin, you blonde slut decided to actually copy Super Saiyan now? That is the biggest insult ever. Yang, shut up. You're going to pay, you bastard. Yang, in her rage from rushing towards Lupin, who also transformed into primal form, took the hit, which barely did nothing, to her absolute shock as he tried punching him multiple times, but it did nothing. Lupin in primal form, are you done with your tantrum? Before Yang could react, only for multiple punches coming from Lupin in primal form, enhanced with armament hockey, each punch shattering every bone from her arms to ribcage, and a powerful kick sending her flying on the ground in a bloody mess. Lupin in primal form, that you called yourselves huntsmen of Union Academy. How pathetic. I was suspecting more of a fight, but you guys are literally weak. He looked down at his own hand, flexing it. There was no flashy aura, just the corded muscle of a body refined into the ultimate instrument. Lupin, you were sent to retrieve a weapon. A tool for your academy's collection. You failed. Not because you were weak, but because you were never taught to seek true strength. Only to wield its cheap imitations. From the acacia tree, his Arctic Vulpix hopped down, gliding gracefully to land on his shoulder once more. It nuzzled his cheek, a touch of serene purity amidst the devastation. Lupin, take your wounded. Bury your broken tools. And carry this message back to your headmasters. The Wild does not answer the bell. The Guardian does not wear a uniform. If they send another recruitment party. He paused, and for a single, heart-stopping moment, a flicker of divine ki ignited in his eyes, a flash of serene, impossible blue. Lupin, I won't be defending myself. I'll be paying a visit to their ivory towers. And I will educate them. With that final, quiet promise hanging in the air like a death knell, Lupin turned his back on the broken teams of Union Academy. He walked towards the setting sun, the small white fox a spot of light on his shoulder, leaving behind 8 students who had just learned the most painful lesson of their lives, that in the grand hierarchy of power, they had not even begun to climb. Chapter 4: Lupin and Luffy sparring. Location: Africa, Savannah. In the aftermath of Lupin defeating the huntsmen of Union Academies such as Teams RWBY and JNPR. Lentrax, Lupin with his personal Pokemon, Arctic Vulpix, sitting out nearby rock, while Lupin was meditating for a time being. Lupin meditating, doing mental training in his mind to get stronger as well. However, he felt a bit like he was lacking. Lupin, in his mind, maybe I should have to get stronger. And it gets stronger, but how should I do it? Union Academy is out of the option. Could there be another academy out there? Lupin peacefully meditating until his ki sensing a presence nearby, but it wasn't Union Academy. It was someone else, not malice but curious. Lupin, to himself, no, who in the world could that be? As Lentrax, Lupin got up and began heading towards the signature of where it was coming from. Bursting from a thicket with a victorious shout, a young man in a torn red vest and straw hat landed in a small clearing. He was grinning from ear to ear, a piece of roasted meat clutched in one hand. Monkey D. Luffy. Shishishi. Found ya. You're the super strong guy who beat up those other guys, right? The one everyone at that weird school is freaking out about. Lupin stopped, folding his arms. His golden Saiyan eyes took in the stranger's relaxed, open stance, the sheer lack of tactical positioning. He looked like a fool. But fools didn't radiate the kind of raw, untamed vitality Lupin was sensing. Lupin, and if I am, are you here to retrieve me too, Straw Hat? Luffy, retrieve? Nah. He took a massive bite of his meat, talking around it. I heard you were crazy strong. I came to see for myself. I'm Monkey D. Luffy, the man who's gonna be king of the pirates. The declaration echoed with absolute, unshakable conviction. It wasn't arrogance. It was a fact of his universe, stated as plainly as the sky being blue. Lupin's smile widened. King of the Pirates. A title of ultimate freedom. The antithesis of Union Academy's rigid order. Lupin, King of the Pirates, huh? Arctic Vulpix tilted its head on the rock, crystalline tails flicking as it studied the newcomer. The little fox's nose twitched, sensing no real malice, only an odd, elastic scent of sea salt and sun. Lupin, you came all the way out here, just because you heard I was strong. Luffy swallowed the mouthful of meat in one heroic gulp and grinned wider. Luffy, yeah, and you beat the crap out of those weirdos from that school that thinks everything's theirs, right? Union something. His nose wrinkled in mild confusion as he tried to remember. Luffy, Union Academy. Those guys were loud and annoying. One of them tried to tell me I couldn't eat on the grass. He made a face like that had been the real crime. Lupin snorted. Lupin, sounds like them. He looks Luffy over. So what, you want to fight me just because I'm crazy strong? Luffy, yup, no hesitation, no strategy, just pure, honest desire. Luffy, when I meet someone strong, I wanna test them. That's all. If you're strong and you're not a jerk, that's even better. Shishishi. Lupin's key sense brushed against him again, searching for the usual tells. Killing intent, coiled hatred, the cold precision of someone like a huntsman from Union Academy. Nothing. Just excitement. Curiosity. A stubborn, unshakable will, like a bonfire in the shape of a human. Lupin, you don't seem to care who they were. Huntsmen. Heroes. Students from a top academy. Luffy, why would I care? He tilted his head. Luffy, if they were bullying people, or acting like they're better than everyone, then they deserved a beating. Doesn't matter what school they go to. Jerks are jerks. A brief flash of Bast's smug face, RWBY's self-righteous glares, and professors from Union Academy telling Lentrax to know his place, flickered in Lupin's mind. Those who abandoned their pack. He folded his arms again, but the gesture had softened. Lupin, you're a strange one, Straw Hat. Luffy, takes one to know one. Luffy leaned forward, eyes shining. Luffy, so, spar with me, no killing, just punches, kicks, stretchy stuff, and whatever crazy beam thingies you do. I wanna see how you fight. I wanna feel it. Arctic Vulpix yipped once, as if objecting to the crazy beam thingies description. Lupin glanced back toward the distant line of acacia trees where Ma Tembo's herd grazed peacefully. Mtoto was splashing in a watering hole. Ma Tembo herself occasionally raised her trunk, always listening for danger. This savanna had been his cradle, his training ground, his sanctuary. He wouldn't, turn it into another cratered battlefield like the ones Union Academy left behind. Lupin, we do this my way. Luffy blinked, then nodded easily. Lupin, we fight away from the herd. No attacks that level half the continent. If I say we stop, we stop. Luffy, okay. But if I say I'm hungry after, we eat. Lupin, that was already going to happen. They stared at each other, and then both of them laughed for reasons neither bothered to define. Lupin stepped off the rock in one smooth motion, landing on the packed red earth. He rolled his shoulders, golden Saiyan eyes sharpening, the warm breeze tugging at his hair and orange GI. Lupin, follow me, King of the Pirates. He took off with a light jump, not even using full flight, just powerful leaps carrying him through the tall grass and over stone outcroppings. Luffy, unfazed, slingshotted after him with an outstretched arm. Luffy, Gomu Gomu no, WHOAAA. He catapulted forward, laughing the whole way. Arctic Vulpix hopped down and padded after them, tails sparkling, staying just far enough back to avoid the coming storm. They stopped atop a wide, flat plateau of sun-baked stone, far from the watering hole and the herd. The horizon rolled forever in bronze and gold. Lupin inhaled once, grounding himself. Earth, sky, wind. The beating hearts in the distance. The quiet thrum of his own ki, coiled but calm. Lupin, this will do. Luffy bounced on his heels, bare toes tapping the stone. Luffy, yeah, big, empty, and no one yelling, Luffy, don't break that. Lupin dropped into his fighting stance, one leg forward, torso angled, hands loose but precise, Time Vanguard Academy's refined form, layered over Saiyan instinct. Lupin, Lentrax of the Vanguard. Protector of the timeline, guardian of this savannah. He smirked. Lupin, Lupin, for short. Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy, captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. They locked eyes. Lupin, you ready? Luffy, always. For a heartbeat, everything stilled. Wind, grass, the very air. Then they moved. Lupin vanished. To Luffy's eyes, he was a blur of motion, closing the distance with a short burst of ki and raw physical speed. Luffy grinned and swung his fist. Luffy, Gomu Gomu no, pistol. His arms snapped forward, rubber stretching, fist rocketing toward where Lupin had been. But the Saiyan wasn't there. Lupin spun behind him, heel flashing out toward the back of Luffy's neck. Luffy ducked, spine bending in an impossible arc as his body corkscrewed under the kick. Luffy, whoa, you're fast. Lupin, you're flexible. Their hands collided next, fist to fist. The shockwave rippled across the plateau, sending dust and loose stones skittering. Lupin's eyes narrowed. He'd pulled that punch. A lot. And still this human's arm hadn't shattered. His rubber flesh bent, absorbed, rebounded. Lupin, you're rubber. Luffy, yep. Handy, right. He twisted his captured arm, suddenly trying to wrap it around Lupin's wrist and yank him forward into a headbutt. Lupin dropped his weight, ki flaring through his legs as he resisted. Lupin, interesting. He slid forward willingly instead, palm striking Luffy square in the chest. Lupin, Vanguard burst. A controlled shock of ki exploded point blank, sending Luffy skidding backwards across the rock, heels carving furrows until he dug in and stopped. Luffy, gah, ahahaha. That stung. He slapped his chest like he was testing a drum. Luffy, okay, you're really strong. This is gonna be fun. He planted his feet, lowering his stance. Steam began to rise from his skin. Luffy, gear. Lupin's eyes widened slightly as Luffy's blood pumped, muscles tightening, veins thrumming with amplified power. The air around him distorted, pressure and speed mixing into something that made Lupin's ki sense sit up and pay attention. Luffy, too. He vanished, this time from Lupin's perspective. Lupin barely crossed his arms before a barrage of blows crashed into his guard. Luffy, jet pistol, jet stamp, jet whip. Each strike was faster than the last, Luffy ricocheting around him like a rubber bullet, attacking from every angle. Lupin blocked, parried, occasionally catching a fist or a foot, using micro-bursts of ki to blunt the impacts. Even so, he slid backward across the stone, boots scraping. Lupin, he's adapting mid-fight. No formal technique, but his instincts. A fist slipped past his guard, clipping his jaw. His head snapped to the side. Lupin's feet stopped. He exhaled slowly, and something in the air changed. Ki flared, but not wild, disciplined, precise. A corona of golden energy shivered around him, stirring his hair. Lupin, not bad, Straw Hat. He lifted his gaze, eyes shifting with a subtle glow. Lupin, but if I just play defense, I won't learn anything either. He let his ki rise, just a little. Golden aura ignited fully, but not enough to transform. The plateau shook, cracks spider webbing outward under his feet. Lupin, Time Vanguard style, Vanguard rush. He stepped. The world blurred. Where Luffy had to wind his body like a spring to launch, Lupin simply appeared where he needed to be, ki strengthening each movement with surgical efficiency. A straight punch became 3. A knee strike became a flurry. Open-handed blows blurred into afterimages. Luffy tried to dodge, blocking with rubbery forearms, deflecting, taking hits on his stretching torso, but the pattern kept changing. No rhythm to read, no tells, only a constant shifting of tempo and angle. Luffy, whoa. You're like a bunch of yous at once. Lupin, that's the point. He sealed the combo with a spinning back kick that launched Luffy skyward. Luffy, wah. He sailed up, arms flailing, then instinct kicked in. Luffy, Gomu Gomu no, balloon. He inflated, body swelling as he sucked in air, turning into a rubber blimp. The kick's force dissipated against the expanding elasticity, and he drifted down, deflating with a wheeze as he landed. Luffy, ha, you almost sent me to the moon. Lupin shook out his hand, smoke curling from his knuckles. Lupin, you're tough. Rubber soaks more than I expected. He rolled his shoulder, feeling his muscles wake further. A familiar thrill began to stir, the deep, primal Saiyan joy of worthy combat. The whisper that said more, push more, rise higher. Another voice, quieter but stronger now, spoke over it. Strength to serve a purpose greater than yourself. Lupin glanced toward the far-off herd. The elephants were mere dots at this distance, but he could feel them still. Ma Tembo's steady presence, Mtodo's bright young energy, all of them a living chorus in the background of his ki. He wanted to go further. He also refused to endanger them. Lupin. Luffy. Luffy. Yeah, Lupin. I'm going to power up more. Just enough to test you. If the ground starts breaking too much, we stop or move higher. If you feel like you're going to die, you shout. Luffy tilted his head. Luffy. Why? Lupin's answer was immediate. Lupin. Because I protect my pack. Even in a spar. Luffy blinked once, then grinned. Luffy. That's a good reason. Don't worry. I don't die easy. Lupin chuckled. Lupin. I noticed. He inhaled. Golden ki exploded around him, hair spiking upward, eyes sharpening into turquoise fire. The plateau blazed with light. Super Saiyan. But it wasn't the harsh, savage transformation of a rage-broken warrior. Lupin's aura flickered with faint threads of pale blue and soft silver, a chronolight humming quietly around him, the influence of the Time Vanguard. Arctic vulpix on the ridge gave an odd little cry, tails flaring like facets of ice in the glare. Luffy's jaw dropped. Luffy. Hoa. That's awesome. He ran in a circle around Lupin once just to see the aura from every angle before stopping in front of him again. Luffy. You got all shiny and your hair went shoom. Lupin. That's one way to describe Super Saiyan. Luffy's grin returned, sharper this time. Luffy. Good. Then I'll get serious too. The steam around him thickened once more as he ramped gear second back up, veins glowing faintly beneath his skin. His stance lowered, arms loose at his sides. Luffy. Let's go, Lupin. Lupin. With pleasure. They vanished into each other. The clash was louder now. Every strike cracked like thunder over the savannah. Luffy in gear second was a blur even Lupin had to respect, his rubber body granting strange angles and rebounds that defied conventional martial logic. Lupin, in turn, used Time Vanguard footwork, flickering just half steps out of sync with normal motion, as if his body occasionally cheated a fraction of a second forward. Fist met fist, foot met forearm, forehead nearly collided with forehead in a stalemated headbutt that left both of them laughing like maniacs. Luffy spun mid-air, stretching one leg back. Luffy. Gomu Gomu no, jet whip. His leg cracked through the air, aiming for Lupin's temple. Lupin. Time Vanguard, shield. Ki folded around his forearm like a translucent, rotating disc, sigils of the Academy's chrono technique briefly glowing in the air. Luffy's leg slammed into the shield, sending ripples of distorted light outward as Lupin absorbed, rotated, and redirected the energy. He twisted, using Luffy's own momentum to sling him sideways. Lupin. Wild Herd Blast. Lupin's free hand snapped out, ki coalescing into a stampede-like burst of force. For a heartbeat, the silhouette of ethereal elephants thundered with the wave, a tribute to those who had raised him. The blast caught Luffy midair, hurling him across the plateau. Luffy. Wah, PFFFT. He flipped, skidding to a stop upside down, feet planted on the stone, hands splayed out. He blinked once, then broke into a delighted cackle. Luffy. You put elephants in your punch. That's so cool. Lupin. They're with me everywhere. Luffy flipped back upright. Luffy. Okay. I got one more thing I wanna try. He bit into his thumb. Lupin. Wait, are you? Luffy. Gomu Gomu no. His arm inflated, bones enlarging, an absurdly massive fist taking shape, shadow falling over Lupin. Luffy. Gigant pistol. The giant rubber fist hurtled down toward him like a meteor. Lupin's ki surged in response, instinct screaming for escalation, Super Saiyan limit breaker, hyper form, show him, crush it, dominate. He overrode it. Lupin. Chrono Kamehameha. He brought his hands to his side, fingers cupping the growing sphere of brilliant blue ki. But unlike a standard Kamehameha, threads of pale light, time energy, spiraled through the core, compressing, refining, folding the blast in on itself. Lupin. Ha! The giant fist descended. Lupin. Meee. Wind whipped around him, his aura flaring. Lupin. Haaaaa. Luffy's shadow swallowed him. Lupin. Ha. He thrust his hands forward. The Chrono Kamehameha fired, not as a wild beam, but as a tight, spiraling lance of energy, time sigils spinning along its length. It met the gigant pistol head-on. Light swallowed the plateau. For a split second, time seemed to stutter in the blast radius. Dust hung in the air a fraction longer than it should have, sound arrived an instant late, the cracks in the rock spread just slightly slower than they ought to. Then the energies cancelled out, Lupin having deliberately tuned his blast to disperse rather than annihilate. The impact still created a shockwave that flattened the grass around the plateau in every direction. Arctic Vulpix yelped and dug its claws into the stone, tails flaring like shields. Down by the watering hole, Ma Tembo's herd trumpeted uneasily, but no more than distant thunder. When the light finally faded, Luffy was kneeling, panting lightly, steam rolling off him. His arm had snapped back to normal, slightly smoking but very much attached. Lupin stood in front of him, Super Saiyan aura shrinking back to a golden shimmer. They stared at each other. And then, simultaneously, they both started laughing. Big, loud, full-chested laughter, the kind only understood by people who had just hit each other very hard and come out the other side better for it. Luffy flopped onto his back, arms spread. Luffy. Ha 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 ha. That was awesome. Lupin let his aura fade completely, hair falling back to its base form. He rolled his neck, feeling the pleasant ache of properly used muscles. Lupin. You're insane. Luffy. Thanks. Lupin. That wasn't a compliment. Luffy. Still taking it as one. Arctic Vulpix trotted over, hopping onto Lupin's shoulder and nuzzling his cheek, as if double-checking he was intact. Lupin reached up to scritch between its ears. Lupin. You worried? Vulpix made a soft, crystalline chirp that clearly meant yes, idiot. Luffy rolled over, propping his chin on his hands as he watched them. Luffy. So you're a Saiyan, huh? And a time protector. And you live out here with elephants and a sparkly fox. Lupin. That's the summary. Luffy. Those guys from Union Academy really had no idea who they were messing with. Lupin's smile cooled. Lupin. They never do. Fake heroes rarely understand the people they step on. Luffy frowned in a way that was rare for him, eyes shadowed with a seriousness that didn't match his usual carefree exterior. Luffy. I hate people like that. The ones who think they can decide who gets to be free. Who gets to be worthy. He squinted at Lupin. Luffy. You don't like cages either. Lupin exhaled slowly. Images flickered, sealed doors, sneering instructors, tests rigged to favor bloodlines, the quiet cruelty of being told to leave his herd behind if he wanted to be a proper hero. Lupin. Number. I don't. That's why I joined Time Vanguard Academy instead. They don't ask me to abandon my pack. They ask me to protect timelines, not trample them. Luffy grinned again. Luffy. Sounds like a good crew. Lupin. It is. He glanced off toward the horizon. Lupin. And you, King of the Pirates, why fight so hard for that title? Luffy's answer was as simple as it was absolute. Luffy. Because the Pirate King is the freest man on the sea. He sat up, pointing at Lupin. Luffy. And you're the kind of guy who protects his friends and punches jerks who think they're better than everyone. So we're the same. Just, you know, you're Space Monkey. I'm Rubber. Lupin stared at him for a beat. Then he laughed again. Lupin. Space Monkey, huh, if Vegeta hears that, he'll blow a blood vessel. Luffy. Who's Vegeta? Lupin. A very angry man with very big hair. Luffy. Oh, you should introduce us. I like angry strong guys. They're fun to punch. Lupin. I'll keep that in mind. For a moment, they just sat there, the sun beginning its slow descent, painting the savannah in deeper orange. Luffy's stomach growled loud enough to echo. Luffy. I'm hungry. Lupin. Of course you are. He pushed himself to his feet and extended a hand. Lupin. Come on. There's a spot near the herd where we can cook without starting a brush fire. You help me hunt, I'll show you how a Saiyan cooks. As Lupin could sense another presence that felt it familiar. It was none other than a god of destruction, Beerus. Lupin. Beerus. It's been a while. Beerus. Yeah, it has been a while. And it certainly seems that you didn't exactly reach your potential. Lupin. Saw why you're here. Beerus. Time Vanguard Academy offers you a chance to actually be a part of the academy. probably push your body to the limits. Lupin thought about it for a moment, realizing that he needed to get stronger. It's pushed past his primal form to other forms that were locked and looked at Luffy, could sense that he also's power and potential locked within him. Lupin, of all times. A shadow stretched across the stone. Beerus hovered there, legs crossed, arms folded, tail idly swaying. His golden eyes swept the plateau, taking in the scorched lines from the Chrono Kamehameha, the fractured rock, the way the distant herd was still restless. Beerus, you're still making a mess when you hold back, I see. Luffy tilted his head. Luffy, who's the purple cat? Beerus's ear twitched. Beerus, I am not a cat. He descended with a lazy drift, feet touching the stone without a sound. The sheer pressure of his aura barely leaked at all, yet Lupin's Saiyan instinct screamed at him anyway. Lupin exhaled and let his combat edge relax, not out of lack of respect, but out of familiarity. Lupin, Beerus, it's been a while. Arctic Vulpix immediately hopped down and made a point of trotting behind Lupin's leg, peeking out warily. Beerus glanced once at the fox, once at Luffy, and then settled his gaze back on Lupin. Beerus, you haven't died yet. That's something. Luffy squinted. Luffy, you two friends. Beerus, I destroyed a planet he was standing on once to make a point. Luffy, so, friends. Lupin pinched the bridge of his nose. Lupin, complicated. Beerus yawned, showing sharp, gleaming fangs. Beerus, I was in the middle of a perfectly good nap when certain entities started bothering me again about the Saiyan anomaly. Time rings buzzing, Kaioshin fretting, the whole tedious choir. He flicked 2 fingers, and a faint, translucent sigil of a time ring flickered briefly around his wrist before vanishing. Beerus, then I feel this. He gestured lazily toward Lupin and Luffy, 2 idiots slamming timelines and battle potential together on my planet like it's a practice field. Luffy, hey, Lupin, he's not wrong. Beerus's gaze sharpened. Beerus, Lentrax, you've grown stronger. Controlled. Your ki doesn't feel like it's going to splatter everything within a mile just because you're irritated anymore. TCH. Whis will say that's maturity. He said the word like it tasted sour. Lupin snorted. Lupin, I've had good teachers. And a herd that will stomp on my head if I blow up their watering hole. Down below, the distant elephants rumbled, as if in agreement. Beerus's eyes flicked toward the herd, then back. Beerus, and yet, for all that progress, you're still nowhere near your ceiling. Lupin felt that land somewhere deep inside him. That quiet truth. He'd felt it in the spar with Luffy. The way his ki had pulled at him, whispering there's more every time he'd chosen restraint. The forms he hadn't touched yet, the paths he'd only glimpsed, Sage God, Hyper, Ascended Hyper, like locked doors at the edge of his awareness. Lupin, I know. Beerus gave a slow, feline smirk. Beerus, good. I'd be annoyed if you argued. Luffy was looking between them like he was watching a conversation in a language he didn't speak but fully intended to punch anyway. Luffy, so what's with all the, you're not at your ceiling, stuff? You here to fight him? Beerus, number. He let the word hang a second. Beerus, I'm here because the Time Vanguard Academy won the argument. That got Lupin's full attention. Lupin, they sent you as a recruiter. Beerus, don't be ridiculous. Gods of destruction don't recruit. We permit. He lifted a hand, studying his claws. Beerus, the Time Kaioshin, the Time Patrol, your annoyingly earnest academy professors, they all keep insisting you're, what did they call it, a temporal keystone with Saiyan adaptability and non-corrupted heroic instinct. He rolled his eyes. Beerus, personally, I'd call you, a trouble magnet with decent cooking skills. Luffy snickered. Luffy, that's a good title. Lupin, so why are you here, really? Beerus's tail flicked. Beerus, because they're right about one thing. This planet, this era, isn't enough to push you where you can go. Fighting Union Academy brats and fake heroes will keep you sharp. It won't unlock what's sleeping in your blood. He stepped closer, golden eyes level with Lupin's. Beerus, you want to push past Primal. Past your comfortable Super Saiyan tricks. Past the little chrono games you've learned wandering the timelines. You want to touch the forms you've only brushed against. A memory flashed in Lupin's chest. White hair, time slowing to an obedient crawl, every attack a perfectly placed note in a symphony of inevitability. Super Saiyan God, Sage Awakening. Another memory followed it, hyper forms wild, explosive rush, the edge of something even higher, shot through with divine ki and swirling light. Super Saiyan ascended hyper. And beyond even that, the vague, terrifying sense of something more. Lupin. Yes. Beerus nodded, as if that admission had been a test. Beerus. Time Vanguard Academy is opening a new program. Deeper training with temporal ki. Sparring rooms that can simulate collapsed timelines, dead universes, God of Destruction battlefields, without actually erasing anything important. He said the last part like it inconvenienced him. Chapter 5 Welcome to Time Vanguard Academy. Location, USA, Time Vanguard Academy. Inside of a pelican flying towards Time Vanguard Academy. See, that was a long-way trip from Africa to USA. Lentrax, Lupin watching the Pelican's entertainment system on a TV showing, SML parody which Lupin kind of found it funny. Lupin. Now this is comedy. Nami. Seriously, give me the remote. Nami, one of the Straw Hats Pirates members being a navigator, grabbed the remote, watching some soap opera. Lupin slowly turned his head towards Nami, giving up WTF look to her. Lupin. Really? Lupin snatching the remote away from Nami just to SML parody. As both Lupin and Nami both looked at each other and glaring. On a TV as SML, a parody episode ended only to show Isaiah and Brian. Road trip full series, Halo Machinima series of comedy and drama. Lupin. Now this machinima is the peak quality of comedy. At some time later, the Pelican itself was able to manage to make it a landing pad of Time Vanguard Academy of city filled with technology. A few meters more than a headmaster of Time Vanguard Academy. Supreme Kai of Time, real name, Chronoa. The 11th Doctor. Dr. Vegapunk. Soshiro Hashina. Kyoichiro Yozakura. Shin Hayata, Ultraman I. Sin Kiska. Cooking and Coup Queen. Shen Shang. Gina Chamber. Void Valks. Pink Diamond. Professor Augustine Sycamore. Chronoa stepped forward, her voice carrying the chime of temporal bells. Chronoa. Welcome, Lentrax of Earth. And Monkey D. Luffy. We've been observing the ripples you both cause. Quite the splash, I must say. The Doctor pushed off the railing, his grin infectious. The 11th Doctor, Savannah Defender and King of the Pirates. Bit of a genre mash-up, but I love it. Alan's why. Time to see where you fit in a universe, no, a multiverse, that's always a bit more brilliant, and a bit more in need of help, than you'd think. Lupin stepped off the Pelican, Vulpix on his shoulder, his earlier annoyance gone. He looked from the face of a time god to the face of an immortal wanderer, to the soldier, the chef, the giant of light, the gem rebel. His bored expression from the savannah was gone, replaced by a spark of intense, focused interest. Lupin. To himself, but loud enough for Luffy to hear. Now this looks like a challenge. Luffy stretched, his straw hat tilted back, his own grin matching the scale of the city before them. Luffy. Shishishi. This place looks awesome. Hey, do you have a cafeteria? Lupin noticed other students that were Saiyans, human of martial artists, enhanced with the devil fruits, Pokemon trainers and etc., Neemkins, Fishman, Majin of male and female, Gems, Minks, Lunarians, Inklings and Octolings. Lupin. So is there a training facility in the connection to push me to my limits? Chronoa. A direct question. The mark of one who values substance over ceremony. The answer, Lentrax, is yes. But it is not a single room or a machine. The 11th Doctor bounded forward, his Converse sneakers squeaking on the deck. It's a philosophy. The whole place is a training facility. That lagoon. He pointed to the crystal waters. Tidal forces simulate 500x gravity and are inhabited by time-displaced plesiosaurs. Very motivating. The library. Books that fight back if your key control is sloppy. But you're asking about the extreme end of the spectrum. Dr. Vegapunk's floating form buzzed closer, his Stella face beaming. Fascinating. A Saiyan's physiological need for exponential stress. We have modified gravity chambers, of course. But our pinnacle achievement, co-developed with the Doctor's dimensional science and the Supreme Kai's temporal authority, is the Continuum Crucible. A holographic projection shimmered into life between them, depicting a sleek, obsidian chamber suspended in a non-space. Vegapunk. It is not merely a room with heavy gravity. It is a pocket reality where the fundamental constants of physics, gravity, temporal flow, spatial dimensionality, are programmable variables. You can train under the crushing weight of a neutron star, in a time stream accelerated 1,000-fold, or in a 6-dimensional space that challenges your very perception. Soshiro Hashina, who had been silently appraising Lupin's stance, spoke up, his voice deceptively light. It also has a combat simulator. It can materialize opponents from recorded temporal data, past foes, historical warriors, or, his eyes glinted, projected versions of your future self. The ultimate sparring partner. Lupin felt a thrill that was pure Saiyan, tempered by Vanguard discipline, course through him. This was it, the forge he needed. Lupin, access. What are the requirements? Chronoa, understanding. The crucible is not for brute force alone. It is for those who seek to master the forces that bind the multiverse. Your first requirement is a tour to see the community you would be strengthening. We do not create weapons here. We cultivate guardians. Your power must have a purpose beyond itself. Luffy, who had been following the conversation with a tilted head, suddenly beamed. So it's a super hard training room that can copy strong guys. Shishishi. I wanna fight a version of me with 3 arms. The tension broke. Professor Sycamore laughed. Cooking offered Luffy a skewer of sizzling, alien meat, which he devoured instantly. The doctor, that's the spirit. But first, the grand tour. All of time and space, or at least, the cafeteria and the dorms, awaits. As the group began to move, Lupin's gaze was drawn across the central plaza. His Saiyan eyes, sharp as a hawk's, locked onto a sight that made his blood sing a familiar, competitive tune. Near a towering, ancient-looking tree, 2 figures were sparring. One was a mountain of muscle, his wild black hair tipped with gold, wearing orange GI pants, a Saiyan, clearly. The other was leaner, his spiky black hair stark against intense blue eyes, his own orange GI worn with a different bearing. They moved in a blur of afterimages, their fists meeting with concussive thuds that shook the air even at this distance. A powerful, righteous gold aura flared around one. A calm, boundless blue ignited around the other. The sheer, focused pressure of their clash was a tangible force. Lupin, his voice a low growl of anticipation, those two, their power. Chronoa, following his gaze, smiled. Ah, I see you've noticed your upperclassmen. That is Son Goku and Vegeta. They oversee our advanced combat kinetics and, well, they tend to reforge any training ground they use. They've been expecting you. A fierce, genuine grin spread across Lupin's face for the first time since his arrival. The Arctic Vulpix on his shoulder sensed his shift in mood and chirped excitedly. Lupin, now that is a proper welcome. The tour could wait. He had just found his first, true benchmarks. The Time Vanguard Academy wasn't just a school. It was the proving ground he was born for. And his mentors were already here. Chapter 6 Valentine's Day. Location, USA, Time Vanguard Academy. At the futuristic academy known as Time Vanguard Academy. That was a special day for everyone to have be with their loved ones. As it was known as Valentine's Day. Like everyone always had a bit of a special someone to be with. As Lentrax Lupin was finishing with some intense training in some of the training area under gravity times 500. Lentrax Lupin, well now that was one great. Lentrax Lupin noticing everyone was with their Valentines or you can say girlfriends, as Lupin realized that it was actually Valentine's Day. Lentrax Lupin, of course, how stupid of me to forget that was Valentine's Day. Well, I don't exactly have anyone special. I'll just stay here for the time being. Lentrax Lupin walking while seeing many of the people spending time with their girlfriends except for him as you continued walking only to be bumped into someone as it was a young beautiful voluptuous girl with the purple hair and blue eyes going by the name of Karina. Karina looked down and was surprised to see Saiyan warrior known as Lentrax Lupin. Lentrax Lupin, well this is awkward. Karina, having a sly grin, wow hello there big boy. Lentrax Lupin, wait are you trying to hit on me? Karina let out a soft, melodious laugh, bringing a hand up to cover her mouth as her blue eyes sparkled with amusement. She didn't step back, instead, she leaned in slightly closer, looking the sweaty Saiyan up and down with obvious appreciation. Karina, my, aren't you perceptive for someone who spends all his time punching gravity? If I said yes, would you run away, or would you stay and chat? She took a step around him, circling him like a predator, or perhaps more accurately, like a curious cat toying with a large, confused dog. Karina, I saw the readout on the training room door. 500 times Earth's gravity. That's impressive, Lentrax. Most of the heroes here are too busy exchanging chocolates and awkward love letters to break a sweat today. But you're burning hot. Literally. Lupin felt a drop of sweat roll down his temple, and for once, it wasn't from the exertion. His tail, usually wrapped neatly around his waist, twitched reflexively, a sign of his unease. He wasn't used to this kind of direct attention. In the herd, affection was a trunk nudge or a rumble. This was complicated. Lupin. Well, training doesn't stop for holidays. Even Valentine's Day. He rubbed the back of his neck, his spiky hair bristling slightly. And I'm not running away. I didn't think anyone was watching. Who are you, anyway? Karina. I'm Karina. And I've been watching for a while. You're the talk of the academy, you know. The Saiyan raised by elephants who hits harder than a freight train. She reached out, her finger tracing the air near his chest, close enough to feel the heat radiating off his aura. Nami walks in having a Valentine's Day card ready for Lupin. Nami. Hey Lupin and I have. As Nami only notices Karina having her jaws dropped and surprised to see her friend. Nami froze in the entryway of the corridor, her orange hair swaying slightly as she came to a halt. The colorful, carefully decorated Valentine's card in her hand suddenly felt very heavy, and she instinctively whipped it behind her back, hiding it from view. Nami. Karina. What are you doing here? Karina slowly turned her head over her shoulder, her violet hair cascading down her back. She didn't move her hand from where it was hovering near Lupin's chest, maintaining her playful claim on the Saiyan. A slow, mischievous smile spread across her lips as she recognized the cat burglar. Karina. Oh my. Nami. It's been a while, hasn't it? I was wondering who else had their eye on the prize. She chuckled, stepping back just an inch to give Lupin room to breathe, though her eyes remained locked on Nami. Karina. I'm just getting to know Lentrax here. I was about to take him for ramen. He looked famished. Lupin blinked, looking back and forth between the voluptuous purple-haired girl and his navigator friend. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a key blast, but to him, it was just confusing. Lupin. Wait, you two know each other. That's great. Nami, did you need something? You said you had. He tilted his head, sniffing the air. Is that chocolate? Nami's face turned a shade of red that rivaled Lupin's Super Saiyan God hair. She tightened her grip on the card behind her back, stammering slightly. Nami. I was just passing by. I didn't think she would be here pouncing on you the second you finished training. She glared at Karina, though there was no real malice, just flustered panic. Karina, you literally just got here, didn't you? Leave him alone, he's probably exhausted. Lupin. Okay, I should actually leave before. I don't want to get it to anyone else's drama. As Lupin was ready to walk away. Only the grip of Karina holding it. Midway. Karina. Leaving. Just when things were getting interesting. Her grip on his bicep was firm, surprisingly strong for someone who didn't look like a frontline brawler. Her nails dug in slightly, not to hurt, but to anchor him in place. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a sultry whisper that made Lupin's ear twitch. Karina. Besides, you can't run on an empty stomach. That's dangerous for a growing Saiyan, isn't it? I promised you that massive bowl of ramen. Unless. She turned her gaze sharply toward Nami, her eyes narrowing playfully. Unless our dear navigator has something sweeter in mind. Lupin stopped dead in his tracks. The mention of food had anchored him more effectively than Karina's hand ever could. His stomach let out a loud, thunderous growl that echoed through the futuristic hallway, causing Nami to flinch and Karina to giggle. Lupin. Ramen, sized like my head. He looked torn, glancing at the exit and then back at the two girls. Look, I really am hungry. Training takes a lot out of me. But if you two are going to fight. Nami's eyes widened as she saw Karina clinging to Lupin's arm. The jealousy flared up instantly, overriding her embarrassment. She stomped her foot, the heel of her boot clicking loudly against the metal floor. Nami. Don't just drag him off like he's some stray puppy you found. And let go of his arm, you vixen. Nami took a deep breath, her face still burning, but her competitive spirit as a pirate kicking in. She couldn't let Karina just walk away with him. With a sudden, jerky motion, she whipped the Valentine's card and a small, neatly wrapped box of chocolates out from behind her back, thrusting them toward Lupin's chest. Nami, and I do have something. Here, take it. Lupin blinks, surprised by the sudden motion. Whoa, Nami. Is that, for me? Nami, of course it's for you, you idiot. It's obligatory. Because we're teammates. And because you saved us that one time. Don't get the wrong idea. She glared at Karina. It's premium chocolate. Way better than cheap ramen. Karina raised an eyebrow, looking from the chocolate box to Nami's flushed face, a smirk playing on her lips. The tension in the hallway shifted from awkward to electric. Karina, oh ho. Obligatory, is it? You went through a lot of trouble wrapping that obligation, Nami. But, she tightened her hold on Lupin's arm slightly, pulling him a fraction of an inch closer to her. Lupin needs real fuel. Meat, noodles, broth. Why don't we let him decide? Dinner with me, or a snack with you? Lupin looked at the chocolate box, smelling the rich cocoa inside, then looked at Karina, thinking about the giant ramen. He felt like a deer caught in headlights, or perhaps more accurately, an elephant caught between two very territorial lionesses. Lupin, you know what, I got to go. As Lupin uses instant transmission to teleport away, try not to actually get himself into more of a drama, as he was able to make it somewhere near his dorm room breathing heavily. Lupin, taking multiple deep breaths, oh god oh god oh god. Calming down, okay, this is not exactly what I was planning for Valentine's Day. Maybe I should. As Lupin was ready to walk away only to be bumped in and his lips to be kissed by another lips of another young voluptuous beautiful girl by the name of Setsuna Higashi, pure passion. Asphalt, their lips separated as Lupin realized what he did. Got up and gently Setsuna Higashi lifting her up and gently laying her on the ground on her 2 feet. Lupin, I'm so sorry. Lupin made a complete full-on mad dash to his dorm room, slamming the door shut. And he was on the bed in his dorm room realizing how screwed up he did during Valentine's Day. Lupin lay face down on his mattress, his tail bristling like a bottle brush and twitching erratically. He let out a groan that was muffled by his pillow, his face burning hotter than his Super Saiyan God aura. Lupin, muffled, what's wrong with? This was my first day being in this academy and all I did was fuck it up. I mean, I never did had any social reaction with other people. And I just literally fucked up by actually not going on a date. Maybe not going to actually help me, but the fight done. I screwed up. As an awkward was heard from in a feminine voice as well, which made Lupin tensed up even more. Lupin, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, I am literally so screwed. Lupin, it's me, Setsuna Higashi, or, well, pure passion. I followed you after the hallway. Are you okay? You ran so fast, and I didn't get to say anything back after, you know, the kiss. Lupin's tail shot straight up like a lightning rod, poofing out to twice its normal size. He rolled off the bed so fast he nearly face-planted, scrambling to his feet in a defensive stance as if time breakers had just warped in. His heart hammered harder than it did under 500x gravity. Lupin, Setsuna, how? The door was slammed. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. I swear on Ma Tembo's trunk I wasn't trying to. He backed up until his shoulders hit the wall, hands waving wildly like he was trying to erase the last 10 minutes from existence. His spiky black hair was a mess, cheeks burning redder than his Super Saiyan God form. In the herd, affection was a gentle trunk nudge or a happy rumble. Not lips. And definitely not 3 girls in one day. From the other side of the door, Setsuna's voice came again, softer, shy, with that gentle warmth she always had even when she was fighting as pure passion. He could almost picture her twirling a strand of her dark hair, cheeks pink. Setsuna, I really didn't mind. Actually, it was kind of nice. I made something for you. For Valentine's. It's not much, just some homemade chocolate shaped like little hearts with strawberry filling. The kind you said you liked after that one mission in the delicious party timeline. Please, can I come in? Or at least hand it to you? Lupin's stomach betrayed him with another monstrous growl. Strawberry chocolate, but his brain screamed trap. He glanced at the window, already calculating instant transmission coordinates to the training room. Before he could blink, bam bam bam, boom. Across the door of the dorm room opened as Lupin tense even more times infinity, Nami and Karina standing in front doors having murderous aura. Lupin, fuck me. He spun, tail lashing like a whip, and crash. Shoulder tackled straight through the reinforced dorm window. Shatterproof glass rained behind him as he rocketed into the night sky at full speed, golden sparks of base form key trailing like a panicked comet. Lupin, mid-flight, screaming, "This is not how a true hero spends Valentine's Day. M.A. Tembo save me." Below, three voices rose in perfect, terrifying harmony. Nami, get back here you cowardly Saiyan. Karina, oh no you don't, big boy, dinner is not optional. Setsuna, soft but determined, Lupin-kun. Wait, the chocolate will melt. Whoosh. Nami launched herself out the broken window riding a miniature tornado from her clima-tacked, orange hair whipping wildly. Swoosh. Karina blurred after him in a streak of purple key, her voluptuous form moving way too fast for someone who looked like she belonged on a magazine cover. Pink flash. Setsuna transformed mid-jump, ribbons of passion pink energy swirling around her as pure passion took to the air, heart-shaped energy wings sparkling. Fresh. Hard arrow. A non-lethal pink beam zipped past Lupin's ear like a love-shaped warning shot. Lupin weaved through the Academy's floating training platforms, heart pounding harder than any 500x gravity session. His tail was fluffed to maximum bottle brush mode. 3 girls. 3 timelines. 1 very confused elephant-raised Saiyan. This is worse than fighting Janemba and a paradox cell at the same time. He dove toward the Academy's central garden, the one with the artificial cherry blossoms that bloomed year-round under the time dome. Maybe he could lose them in the trees like he used to hide from Ma Tembo when he was late for herd nap time. Bad idea. He landed hard, skidding across the grass, only to sense 3 key signatures lock onto him like targeting computers. Nami stepped out from behind a glowing sakura tree, card and chocolate box still clutched in one hand, the other twirling her klima tacked like a baton of doom. You owe me a Valentine's dance, mister, I'm just training. Karina appeared on his left, takeout bag miraculously still intact and smelling like spicy tonkatsu heaven. She licked her lips, half teasing, half serious. Running only makes me hungrier, Lentrax. And I'm not just talking about ramen. Setsuna landed softly on his right, detransforming with a gentle shimmer. She held out the pink box with both hands, cheeks glowing. I really did make these for you. Strawberry filled. Just like you told me you liked after we saved that timeline together, her voice dropped to a whisper. And the kiss, I meant it when I said I didn't mind. Lupin's back hit the trunk of the biggest cherry blossom tree. Nowhere left to run. His stomach growled so loud it shook petals loose from the branches. He slid down the trunk until he was sitting on the grass, knees up, tail curled around his ankles like a defeated puppy. His face was buried in his arms. Lupin, muffled, defeated, I suck at this. At people. At whatever this is. In the herd, if someone likes you, they just bump trunks and share mangoes. No cards. No chasing. No kissing by accident. I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I didn't want to pick. I just wanted to train and protect my pack. That's all I know how to do. Silence. Then 3 soft thuds as the girls sat down in front of him, forming a perfect semicircle under the glowing blossoms. Nami sighed, poking his forehead with the Valentine's card. You big idiot. We're not asking you to pick. We're asking you to stop running. She placed the box of premium chocolate in his lap. Teammates. Pack. Whatever you want to call it. Karina set the massive ramen bowl, still steaming, beside him and ruffled his spiky hair. And if your pack wants to feed you and maybe steal a hug or two, you're just gonna have to deal with it, big boy. Setsuna gently placed her handmade strawberry chocolates on top of the pile, then, after a shy second, leaned in and kissed his cheek. Quick, soft, like a promise. Happy Valentine's Day, Lupin. From all of us. Lupin peeked out from his arms. His cheeks were still red, but the panic in his eyes had melted into something warmer. His tail slowly uncurled and gave a single, hopeful swish. Lupin. Group ramen. Then sparring under the stars. Then, maybe more of this pack stuff. Slowly. All three girls grinned at once. Nami, deal. But you're carrying the bowls. Karina, and I get the seat on your left. Setsuna, I get to hold your hand on the way back. Lupin stood up, scratched the back of his neck, and finally, laughed. A real, rumbling Saiyan laugh that made the cherry blossoms dance. Lupin, you know what? This might be better than 500x gravity after all. He picked up the ramen, the chocolates, the card, and, without thinking, offered his free arm. Nami took one side, Karina the other, Setsuna slipping her hand into his. The four of them walked back toward the academy cafeteria under the artificial stars, key signatures glowing soft and warm together. Somewhere in the distance, Goku's voice echoed from the teacher's lounge. "Huh. Looks like the kid finally learned the best fusion of all, friendship fusion." Vegeta just grunted. "Kakarot, shut up and pass the spicy wings." Lupin's tail swished happily the whole way. Maybe protecting timelines isn't the only thing worth fighting for. Sometimes, you just gotta let your pack protect you right back. And this is the end of this amazing epic crossover movie or arc. Hope you guys like it. Do not forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel to see more amazing content.